As I mentioned, the House Homeland Security Committee will hold the first impeachment hearing for Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, tomorrow, following a record influx of illegal migrants throughout his tenure, including more than 300,000 last month alone. That another record. Well, House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green has called Mayorkas, quote, the greatest domestic threat to the national security and the safety of the American people, end quote. So will the embattled secretary become the first cabinet member impeached in nearly 150 years? Well, joining me now to give us an answer is Congressman Mike Ezell. He serves on the House Homeland Security Committee and the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. He represents the 4th Congressional District of Mississippi. Congressman Ezell, welcome to Washington Watch. Good to see you.
Hey, thank you, Tony. I very much appreciate this. I cannot tell you how many times that I've listened to you on the radio as I've traveled back and forth across my home district, Mississippi, on 91.7 there on the Golden Mississippi Gulf Coast. And never thought I'd be on the radio with you, but Happy New Year and God bless you. And thank you for the scripture you quoted. I'm a God-fearing man and love the Lord. And thankfully, I've got a wonderful wife that feels the same way I do. We love this country. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, sir. And thank you for being willing to serve. These are not the easiest times to serve in public office, but we're grateful for those that are willing to embrace the call. And that is, as believers, we know the Lord calls us to these things, and that's what gives us the strength. So let's talk about where things stand with tomorrow's hearing in the Homeland Security Committee. Okay. What are your expectations?
Well, tomorrow we're going to discuss that every state is a border state. We've been talking about this for the last several months, and there's so many things going on in the country right now. If you just look around the country at the illegals that are here, the crimes that they have been committing, the victims that we've seen time and time again, the fentanyl abuse that is just tragically taken over our country. Just recently we had a family killed in Colorado, which is thousands of miles away from the border, by an illegal who was driving under the influence. He had already been deported several times for DUI, and here he is again in the country. So, we've got to get a handle on this, and I'm going to do everything within my power to get this done.
The secretary continues to say, well, look, our hands are tied. We need more money and we need Congress to pass laws. But the laws were working before they came in. When when the Trump administration was in place, I was at the border and it was like a ghost town. So what's the deal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I tell you what the deal is. My former life as a 42-year police officer and a sheriff and a chief of police and a leader of law enforcement officers. I went to the border back last year and saw firsthand what was going on. And I spoke to those Border Patrol agents behind the scenes who didn't want to come out and talk. They're not being allowed to do their job. I don't care what anybody says under oath or anything else. These men and women of the Border Patrol are not being allowed to do their job. They're not being able to enforce the laws that are on the books. We need to continue with the border wall. That works. They tell us it works. They just need to turn those people loose and let them do their job. As a sheriff, I can assure you that I can go down there with the resources they have. I can take care of this problem in a very short period of time.
Let's talk about the actions of Secretary Mayorkas and the fact that tomorrow, as we talked about, that'll be the first hearing, the first proceedings for an impeachment for Secretary Mayorkas. Now, some say, well, does his behavior and his actions rise to that level?
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you what, if you just look, like I say, we talk to the men and women of Border Patrol. They are not being allowed to do their job. As a sheriff and as a chief of police, if I was in charge of a city or a county or a state or a border, and I was given an oath to protect this country, and I stopped my men and women of law enforcement from doing their job, that's the first example right there that he's not doing his job. And so from there, you go for everything else behind that. And they will tell you behind the scenes that they are not being allowed to do their jobs. They're being forced to do nursemaiding jobs. They're taking care of people that don't need to be here to begin with. And I'm telling you, I saw it firsthand down there. Mayorkas is not allowing the men and women of Border Patrol to do their job. I saw that firsthand when I was there.
By the way, Congressman Ezell, just want to say, number one, thank you for your service as a law enforcement officer. And today is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
Yeah,
and I can't think of
yeah.
a better way to appreciate the men and women, and I served nearly 10 years as a police officer and a sheriff's deputy. There's no better way to appreciate them than to allow them to uphold the law and do their job without political interference. And that's what the vast majority of men and women in uniform, whether it's state, local, or federal, want to do. That's why they joined the ranks of those who uphold the law.
It is a calling, just like being called to office, just like being called to run for Congress or any other public service job. I had an old boss one time that said, it's easy to be a supervisor and just not do your job and just let things go along to get along. But in order to stand up and take care and protect these folks, you've got to be allowed to enforce the law that's on the book. And Mayorkas is not letting this happen. He can say all day long, and I questioned him when I had my opportunity back last year, and I talked to him about it. And I told him, as a sheriff of my county in Jackson County, if I did not do my job, I would be removed from office. And I said, sir, you're not doing your job. You need to allow these men and women to do their job so we can protect this country. They're not doing that. And it's very obvious. I mean, the old fable, emperor's new clothes, that's the story we're getting here. You can say all day long that the border is secure and the laws are being enforced, but just look at what's going on around the country. Right. It's wide open.
You're absolutely right. Congressman Ezell, I want to thank you for joining us here on Washington Watch, and appreciate your service and look forward to watching tomorrow's hearing.
Thanks again. I really appreciate it.